Welcome everyone to HirePHD's Alternative Career Path Success Stories, ACPSS series. I am Dr. Lin, Executive Director of HirePHD. I'll be your host today. PhD and Masters, we learned so many transferable skills that can be applicable to many jobs and industries. However, one of the challenge is to get jobs outside of the academia is that we don't know what our options are out there. So this ACPSS series objective is to showcase stories of people with masters or PhDs who have made a successful transition out to a non-academic career path that you might or might not know about. Joining us today is Nastaran Taleghani, Business Development Specialist from STEMCELL Technologies. Welcome. We're so thrilled to have you as our guest today.
Thanks, Connie. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here and excited for our talk. Yeah.
Yeah, so why don't we start with tell us a little bit more about yourself?
So I did my bachelor's as biotechnology in University of Tehran back home in Iran, and then that followed with doing my master's in biotechnology. And at the same time, I was working full time at a startup company developing HPV vaccine. After that, I moved to Canada. I did my second master's in chemical engineering. And then I joined STEMCELL first as the process development team, working on bioreactors, and then shift to business development to work on the legal side.
Like I know
Yeah.
a lot of people are really curious about what the business development side is like, especially from scientists, engineering, academics going there. Can you tell us a little bit more about what your job does?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I'm working on negotiating agreements between STEMCELL and other companies and drafting those agreements. So whenever we want to have a collaboration with scientists, like in universities or scientists from other companies, and we want to share the details of the projects with them, or they want to share some details with us, we need to have some confidentiality agreements with in these companies. So I'm negotiating those agreements also for companies who, or even universities who would like to test our products that it has not been launched. We do have material transfer agreements. So that is the main things that I normally do in my day-to-day job, but I also work on some other agreements that's more on the industrial side, like supply agreements, service agreements. So yeah, basically more working on the negotiating of those agreements and drafting those agreements.
That's I've never done that before, and then that sounds quite intense. I don't know, but maybe that's just because of outsiders. How is that compared to your job you had before in STEMCELL?
That's very, very different, I would say. When I was in process development, I was mostly working on like antibody expressions and like bioreactors performance. So it was intense in terms of like producing something and like getting like the performance that you want. But being in the legal and business development side, I would say the impact of what you say in the meetings or like what you daily do can be very huge compared. Like when you're in the lab, like a simple mistake normally is like you can make it right, right? But like in the meetings or like in the business and legal side, you have to be very careful of like what's happening there. You have to be fully prepared for like the talks that you're gonna have with like different vendors, different parties. So I would say the impact is very different, and also like the background that you have to collect before every time you're gonna meet with different people.
Oh, that's an interesting aspect. Like, how do you prepare to meet before you meet a client?
Um, to be honest, it's mostly like internal. You have to talk to many different people who has like the scientist who's working on the project to make sure that you know everything about like what they do and make sure you understand what they want and what is their expectation from the other side, like what they want to receive from them, what they don't want to receive from them. And also like reviewing some other agreements that we have with other parties that's similar to what like let's say what I want to negotiate.
How is it like? I'm trying to visualize it. So you go into a meeting, like who are you talking to? Do you have a team with you? Or like how does
Okay, so
that work? Yeah.
sometimes you do. Normally, okay, so normally, at least that's how we usually work. Business development team is the only team in the meeting. We try not to have the scientists in the very first meetings because, scientists, they like to talk. They like to explain like what they did and everything, and some of those information can be confidential. So you don't want everything to be like at their hand. So that how we proceed normally is to have the business development team talking to the other side. That can be a challenge too, because sometimes it's hard to understand like the transform of like what we want and what they want from their scientists to their legal and our scientists to our legal. It can like create some gaps as well. So that can be a challenge too. But yeah, sometimes I'm alone in the meeting. Sometimes I have some other team members from business development to like support me. It depends, honestly.
Oh, like now I can visualize a little bit about what my experience was like in pharma because I was on the scientist side, and then the business development would do something. They'll be like, "Oh, hey, we need a medical advisor. Can you
Yeah.
join this meeting?" But they already talked. So audience, like now you have some of taste. If you have more questions, like feel free to comment down below, and then we could help answer. So what would you say is like the the fun part versus the tough part of doing this job?
The fun part for me, because let's just say that I never thought of myself doing this as my job. I somehow knew from when I was like a child, knew that I'm good at like fighting for other people's right, and I like that, but I never thought of that as doing like a job. And I never thought of doing law because it was so, I thought back then it was so intense and scary. So I was like, no, I want science and engineering. So I went that way. But now I feel like, at least in Canada, there's a smoother way of like getting that satisfaction from getting the right that you want. So I like that.
So
That's the fun part for me.
that's actually quite inspiring. So what about the tough part?
For me, the toughest thing, especially when I start, so the legal terms, it's very different than like how people talk daily. And English was not my first speaking language. So I was like, I had to learn a lot about like making sure I understand everything correctly, everything that I think it is actually what it is, and getting to know those terms and then actually use them correctly when I need to.
So how long does that take? Like, do you have any tips for the audience who are
Um, I would
thinking
say
about?
for me, it's been almost, yeah, it's been a year that I'm almost a year that I'm in the legal team. For me, I would say the first 6 to 9 months is very hard. You should study hard. You should like grab on anything that you can find like online or in the books or like any references that you can find to learn. After that, you feel more confident talking
Mm,
and like negotiating. But
mm.
at the same time, it can be very, I would say it can be very scary when you're talking to someone who has a law degree and you don't. So it's like, I know what I'm doing, but like they know a lot more stuff. Like they know many things that I have no idea. So, but people are very understanding, I would say.
How did you make the transition from like process to business development? Do you have to fight for this role? Like, what happened? How did you get it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit I think I'll keep that also as my advice at the end. But we used to like we after COVID, we started playing a game that it's somehow close to werewolf, but it's like mostly you talk with other people, convince them, justify why you think this is right or wrong. And then I realized that I'm actually very good at this. Like I know that I can do that, but never thought of it as something like daily or like I thought of it as a game, and then many people reach out to me and say that, oh, you're actually very good at justifying what you think is right, like bringing all the things that you feel like as a fact can support like what you're saying. And I thought like, yeah, you're right. I'm actually good at it. And also, um, I would say this experience also negotiated that. So one of my friends wanted to have like a visa application or something, and it was somehow urgent. So we were about to call IRCC and like ask them to like how she needs that like ASAP. And I was the person they asked to call them and talk. So that also triggered that, oh, like it can come to serious stuff and I'm still like I'm good at it. So, and then one of our friends saw the job posting in the stem cell website saying that, oh, we want someone who likes to negotiate like agreements and everything. I was like, huh, that's something that I'm doing and I'm enjoying. And at the same time, I knew that like working in the lab is not something that I want to do for the rest of my life. So I was like, I don't know, maybe I should work on project management instead, or I was lost, I would say. And then I saw that job posting and I was like, maybe I should try that and see, like even know about the position and like see if I have a chance because I didn't have any like actual experience, industrial experience on negotiating things. It was mostly like through, some like gaming or like, some other stuff. So yeah, I got the interview and I talked to people and they were like, oh, you're really passionate, but you don't have the experience. So we have to think about it. And we had gone through a couple of round of interviews and they were like, okay, if you're fine with having it as like entry level job to learn, that's okay with us. But if your expectation is to like have it like very high level, we cannot do that because of the experience that you don't have. And I was really fine with that because first of all, it was really exciting to me to do something that I feel like I can be good at and I enjoyed. So I went for it.
I want to summarize it for the audience. Like
Sure.
there's some really key messages here. Like um, to, first thing is when we do our resume and interview workshop, there's a very important thing that when you look at the job description, and you might think you don't have some of those, but my recommendation to folks is like ask your friends. Like look at Nastaran, like your friends told you, hey, you have this talent. Do you know about that? And you're like, oh. Then you start exploring. Your families and friends know you a lot of time know something you don't even know about
Sure.
yourself, right? That will help you
Agree.
explore career. And the second lesson here is don't be afraid to start fresh, right? And that's when you're progressing on your career, but if you want to change your career, you might have to start lower, but it's okay, right?
True. I
As long as
agree.
you're happy here,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the third thing is like if you're curious about what Nastra was talking about the game thing, like you can check out down. We'll include the link below. They have a YouTube channel. You can watch. You can watch Nastra and how she negotiate there. Yeah. Like for people who maybe you can give some advice as well. Now you tell the story of your transition. Like what would you advise people when they're thinking what at your same place?
Yeah, what at least the first thing comes to my mind is that like world is changing very fast now. Like the things that at least for us that we thought as a career we can do like 5, 10 years ago, it's changing a lot. Like many things that you had as a dream and you were like, oh, there's no job for that. Like that's not a job. You can never know. Like look into what how you can use what you like or what you're good at. And I would say with the world changing so fast, there might be like opportunities for you to implement what you like or what you're good at into your actual job. Or if not, you might find an opportunity in the future to do that yourself. So I would say look into what you're good at, what you're enjoying, and never think of it as something, oh, that's just a game or that's just a hobby. It might really come into having that as a job one day for you.
From your experience, is there something like a particular personality that would love this job, or some people that with some trait they were just like, oh, I hate. I would hate this job? Do you have anything like that to share?
I would say most of the people in our team are introverts. So if
Oh,
you I don't know. At the same time, you're like in a lot of meetings, but the meetings are not very large meetings. So it's like mostly two to five, six people. So it's if you feel like you get scared of talking in front of like a large group of people, even though legal stuff can be scary, the experience for me was that no, I feel more confident talking like even about these stuff when the group is like a smaller people. So that and also, I would say you have the flexibility of working from anywhere. Because if you're working on the agreements, most of your time is basically like working on documents, working on drafts, sending emails, and also meeting people. So if you have a chance of meeting people online, like through like Zoom or like Google Meet or whatever, you can do the job from anywhere.
like, is there some things that you think like, maybe you hate this, then you shouldn't take this job?
If you have a science background, if you get bored with like terminologies, don't do it because it's a lot of things to like terminologies to learn, and it's important to use them like at the right time
Precise.
correctly. Yeah, true. And a
Mm.
slight difference can mean a lot different. Like if like you think, oh, this is the same as that one, and then you get into like talking to people about it, and you feel like, no, that's a completely different thing. That you have to talk to people to understand like these are different things, but like essentially they might translate it the same meaning. So that and I don't know, maybe it's only for me, but I'm working full time from home. So some people might not like that. We have the opportunity of like, at least with the STEMCELL, going to the office, but I think many of our team members don't like that. So even if you go there, you have to initialize meeting a lot of people like that you don't know, like through like coffee breaks or whatever. So that might be another one. Like I would say maybe people who's really excited to meet different people, like hang out with them, it might be become boring for them.
Oh, that's an interesting angle about how world has changed after COVID. Because before, like business meeting, you
Yeah.
imagine or people with business suit, you go into some fancy hotel meeting room or something or office.
Yeah.
Nowadays, don't online now. Is that how it
Yeah,
goes
we
now?
at least for us, we have almost all of our meetings online. Yeah.
Oh wow, so world has changed. The next question I want to ask is what is the career trajectory like from your position now you're starting here? What's next? What's next?
Okay, so I would say it can be somehow different based on like what you like in law. Like for now, I'm mostly working on confidentiality agreements, and I would say for someone who's starting new, it's important to start with like simple agreements and get to know everything, and then move into like more complex agreements. But like it depends. I can work on trademarks, licensing if I want, if I feel like I enjoy that. I can work on patents and IPs if I feel like that's something that's I'm more interested in. Or I can work on like mostly focused on due diligence or even like supply agreements with like other companies. So I would say it really depends on your interests as well. And then when you get all the expertise that you need, it would go to like a management and training other people.
Oh, so do you see like a path of okay going to even higher like going VP and like executive level through this?
Yeah. And honestly, let me say that as well. I heard it from one of the profs that I was talking to when I was doing this transition. He told me that um, if you feel like someday you want to have your own company, having that legal information is can be very helpful when you if you want if your plan is to like become a CEO one day. because like many of the things that you have like people have to send to lawyers to understand or like ask them to interpret, you can do it yourself. So I would say that's a bonus too for someone who's thinking of having their own business.
So
Sure.
for people who are say I want to be a business development person, like do you have any advice for them? I
Okay,
don't know
so
about
if
you.
they
Yeah.
like sales and like marketing
Mm,
and those stuff, they should go like, okay, maybe that's like for sales and marketing, like many postings or like positions or like um references name them as sales. So it's not specifically business development rep, but on the legal side, you have to study a lot. You have to like learn a lot about different aspects and see like which one you like.
mm.
And it's like there's a lot of opportunities. So like for me, it's like STEMCELL is a biotech company. So at least for me, I never thought of like doing a bachelor or master in science or engineering and then moving into law. I never saw that as something I would do. I always thought like if you work on legal, you have to have bachelor of law or like some law degree. So that's one thing. But if you feel like that might be something you can be interested, just study about that. And you can also talk to people like me who has that experience.
For people who are looking to get into your field, any extra education they that would be helpful? Like I know like project management, PMP and stuff, right? What would you say?
We do have like a certificate for negotiation and
Mm.
also like a contract management certificate, but that requires some experience. So if you're starting new, just show that you're passionate and you have studied and you wanted to get into that role. And then after you start, just as I said, dig into different aspects and see which one you like more. And after, I would say 3 to 5 years of experience, you can get the certificate.
Can you tell us more about STEMCELL?
The culture is very friendly, I would say. People are very helpful and they eager to like appreciate what you do, I would say, make you realize that what you're doing is worthy. That's really inspiring for me, especially when I'm starting as like an entry level. It's really important to me to have that feedback of what I'm doing is actually having impact to the team. And it's like, even though I'm starting new, it's like at least getting some positive feedbacks.
I know a lot of people are curious about how to get into STEMCELL. I know this is your first job in Canada, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like can you share like how did you get it?
For me, I had a friend who's working in a stem cell, and then they referred me to the position. I went through couple of round of interviews. I would say a stem cell, as I know, they had in their interview process, they had at least 4 to 6 rounds of interviews, so don't be scared. But many of that is mostly like getting to know the people in the team, like, and we have a very friendly culture. So, like, even in the interviews, it might be intense at the very start of the meetings or like interviews, but it gets smooth. So that, and also if you had co-op experiences from like students from bachelors, that can be a real bonus. But also having like some project experiences either in like university as like your thesis or something that you do on the side, that can be also a real big bonus. Also volunteer things to know people from stem cell.
How did you you mentioned about interview. I was thinking like how would you recommend people to prepare for the interview for STEMCELL?
I would say learn more as much as you can for the job that you have applied and got the interview for. Get all the, if it's a lab or scientific role, get as much prepared on the like protocols or like your experience or like what you have done. For me, interestingly, what really helped me is to watch YouTube videos of the people doing the job that I was applying for. So I get to know like how is like the operation going, how is the industry for like at least larger equipment, like how they work, how they operate. So even if they ask me some questions and like, do you have experience of that? I would say no, but I have watched like how people do that, and this is like what happens. So they feel like, oh, like this person, even though they don't have the experience, they're really keen about like knowing like the process. So that really helps. On the legal side, I would say that also like watching some content on the legal, on the like negotiation stuff. I would say just dig into like research about the position, research about like what people in that position do and what you can do, and also try to show how the skills that you have, even if you don't have all the skills that you want, can be used in their team. That's the real thing that I would sound you out in the interview, like saying that, oh, I have these things and I feel like this specific skill can be very helpful in your team because of that. And you can get that by just reading about the position, like thinking how you can be in that position.
Right. This is a new thing I learned today that I never thought before, because traditionally people recommend like, oh, go do information interview, oh, do this and that. But today's first time I hear watch YouTube video about what that job is like. Now that's a new resource. It's like, oh my God, light bulb moment. Thank you.
Yeah, because I sometimes I'm a visual person. So when I see something, first of all, I remember that way better than like talking or listening. And the second is that I can imagine myself doing that. So if they ask
Mhm.
me, I can better like explain how I'm supposed to do that. So.
So is there any final advice for the audience, especially like you share a trait with many of us is as an immigrant coming to a new country looking for a job. What?
Uh, I would say when you graduate as an international after school and you're looking for a job, I know that many people are looking for like the jobs that are available. Same was for me. Like what I did in a school in UBC was very different than the job I get at STEMCELL, and I got that job because of the experience that I had back home in the full-time position that I had. But there is opportunity to move always. And I remember this always when I was telling one of our senior managers in process development that I'm moving. I feel like I should move to legal because that's something that I enjoy and I feel like I don't get tired of. They were very, I would say they were very respectful of the change that I wanted to do. And they told me people go through crazy career changes that you can think of, and it happens for everyone. So don't feel like, oh, like you're someone who's like discover your interests or talents way too like late through your career. It happens to everyone and people go through these changes that you cannot even imagine. So just look into what you like, and you feel like if there is something out there that you can do and you like, you can find it. And as the one that you said is be be open about starting new if that's something you like, because it's kind of worth it, I would say. Like the job that I did in process development, I enjoyed that, but I was like, I don't want to do this in like even next year. So it's like even I have to move too fast to management, which is not great because like you have to learn the fundamentals. um so I didn't want to rush through that. But even I was like, okay, if I do that, is it something that I'm happy about every day that I want to do? I'm not sure. But when I saw the other job posting, I was like, this is something that I think I'm never get tired of. So even if it's like entry level and I have to like cross like the 3 years that I have worked in process and the labs, it's kind of worth it. And it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find your happiness. I think that is a very big lesson here. Yeah. Thank you so much. I so enjoyed talking with you and so inspiring. I hope the audience will be so inspired as well. So if you're interested to hear more about us and more of the stories and more career journeys and then these pearls of wisdom, please subscribe below.